Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. Loads going on in this window, and we've managed to secure both Dharmesh Sheth and James Green on a free. We'll hear from them in just a moment. Arsenal are looking into the possibility of signing the RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko this month. Kyle Walker is ready to fly to Italy to complete a loan move to Milan.
Arsenal over the possibility of doing a deal for a forward in this transfer window. And there is a long-term interest in that man. That's the RB Leipzig striker, Benjamin Sesko. Discussions are ongoing on whether a deal can be done in this transfer window. I've always maintained that it's very, very difficult to do such a deal, and a big one like this in January. He actually signed a new contract at RB Leipzig just last summer that takes him through till 2029. And his agent has actually told Sky Sports News earlier on in this transfer window that he expects him to stay at Leipzig in this transfer window. Look, Leipzig don't want him to leave. Yes, on the one hand, they've effectively been eliminated from the Champions League this season because they've lost 6 games out of 6 in the group stage so far. But they're only a point off the top 4 in the Bundesliga, so they would want Sesko to try and spearhead a return to the Champions League for next season. Interestingly, though, it's understood that Leipzig have a gentleman's agreement that if the right offer was to come along in the summer, then they would allow him to leave. And also, quite significantly, we understand that there's no release clause for Benjamin Sesko, which would mean it would be very difficult to do a deal in a January transfer window. Just a reminder of what Sesko's agent, Elvis Basanovic, told Sky Sports News earlier on this month. He says, "We're aware of interest from several top clubs for a long time. If you ask me if Sesko will move in January, I can only say Sesko is happy with his development in RB Leipzig at the moment, and he is an RB Leipzig player with a long-term contract." But we've heard quotes like that before.
I was just about to say,
players can move.
Yeah, we will see. Let's talk Kyle Walker. What's the latest on him, James?
Clearly, Mikel Arteta does want to bring in a striker. They're working in these final days to try and make that happen. Benjamin Sesko is a long-term target, but Leipzig say not for sale, got a deal until 2029. They've also looked at Matheus Cunha as well. Again, Wolves under no pressure to sell, contract until 2027. Sky, just generally, how difficult a position are Arsenal in when they're trying to go in to the market for a striker this late in the window when everybody knows they're in the market to bring someone in?
Yeah, it's tough. It's all about demand and supply. Everybody wants the same players. Arsenal want someone who can make them better. And how many players out there can make Arsenal better? And then when Arsenal go in for a player, everybody knows that Arsenal need a striker. So the price goes up. And the money people at Arsenal know that they're going to have to pay over the odds to get the players they want. So, yes, Arsenal are in a difficult position because they're such a great club with great tradition and a team that is just on the brink of winning the Premier League. So he's not saying too much because he knows that everybody can sing till they're blue in the face about, you know, you need a forward. He wants to bring in another forward. They've got problems with Saka, and then Jesus has gone as well. So they want to bring in players that other clubs don't want to sell. So if those clubs are going to sell, they're going to have to ask for a load of money to be without, because you can't replace players in the January window.
Especially this late as well.
They let a player go and then they've got their own league to deal with. So, yeah, it's a very tricky situation. They need people behind the scenes that have got really strong networks and good communication skills. You see, I feel that the January window is so short that player swaps and that should come into place. You know, there are players that Arsenal would maybe let go, do a part swap, part deal, but like clubs don't want to do it. Every club is going to overprice their players.
But every player's got a price, right?
Every player's got a price, but Arsenal are not going to pay a silly price for a player. You know, the team is decent as it is. He likes Havertz. Havertz is there. You know, he's got some good young players coming through as well. But people always forget that clubs like Arsenal, they've got such an unbelievable crop of players coming through. He's got an eye on them as well. So he doesn't want to block their pathway. So So it's a really tricky situation. But if they get someone in, it will be a miracle job and it will be another medal.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of answered it in a way. So, but do agents and clubs then become a bit more opportunistic?
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ. There'll be some agents lining their pockets, you know. Because at the end of the day, football is big business. And as I said earlier about demand and supply, there are very few players for all the top clubs want. If a player's got one club interested, you know, that's a lot. But if you've got 2-3 clubs interested, the agents, they then start making their demands bigger. The players think, well, if I'm going to go, then you're going to have to pay me this. So, as you said earlier, very tricky situation for Arsenal.
Michael, look, Arsenal under Arteta in the 5 years, just over 5 years he's been there, they've signed over 30 players during his time there, only 2 strikers. 4 strikers have left the club under Mikel Arteta. Is there an argument that Arsenal maybe have neglected that position in some sort of form?
I am currently doing Mikel Arteta's eyebrows, like he did earlier in the press conference to that. Because you could argue, and Mikel Arteta will argue, that they've actually recruited ever so well in every other department. They've upgraded the goalkeepers. They've gone now to David Raya. Heavily upgraded the defence from when he started. Jurrien Timber, Benjamin White, Gabriel. Declan Rice weren't cheap, but hey, what an upgrade. They scored a lot of goals last season. And Mikel Arteta said to me and a few other reporters last season in a press conference, we're talking about the title race, he was just about to walk out and he stopped and said, oh, by the way, none of you said congratulations to me. I said, didn't know it was your birthday. And he went, no. We've just qualified for the Champions League twice in a row. I was like, you know what? He's right. They were 8th, 7th, 8th when he was there. And all of a sudden, second. So you look at it last season as well. How many goals did they score last season in the 90s?
91.
They scored some goals. Yeah. They scored some goals. And look, you've heard it from him there. They want a striker.
But what people forget is that there are so few strikers available that will make Arsenal better that that's why it's difficult. When people say to him, you've got to get a striker, but don't you think that him and the recruitment team are looking at forwards that will make them better? And the fact is that there are so few, and demand and supply, as I keep saying, so everybody's after the same players, and Arsenal are not a club to put themselves in financial difficulty just to get a player. You know, they've got a squad of 25 players or whatever, and they're all good. They're all decent players.
Just a couple of other lines to bring you on Arsenal. It's not just about trying to bring in a forward, potential departures as well. We've been talking about Kieran Tierney throughout this transfer window, and we expect now Celtic to perhaps approach Arsenal to try and bring him on loan before a free transfer in the summer. And lots of talk about Alexander Zinchenko as well. Atletico Madrid keen on Zinchenko. That's according to our colleagues at Sky in Germany. They're open to signing Zinchenko in a permanent deal or on loan with an obligation to buy. Borussia Dortmund also explored that deal, but have concerns about the potential cost. They've yet to receive a formal approach as yet